Friday the 13th is a brand of horror movies that started out in 1980 and they have kept going all through the 80s and beyond. Nevertheless, since they originally was supposed to stop making more movies after the fourth one, called Friday the 13th Final Chapter, that's why I also only intend to rank the first four and not anything else after that. Number one in this rank is the first movie Friday the 13th from 1980, the original that started this crusade of movies about this masked killer living in the woods called Jason that in this movie sees his mother get killed by the last girl alive at the end, Alice. This movie has a much darker tension. This camp that they are in are much scarier than any of the other movies. I feel the movie is not that slow and it builds up the legend of this masked killer very good. The horror scenes with the killings are tenser, the characters are better, and also in particular, those last scenes between the last surviving girl Alice and Jason gives us a tense finale, not matched by the other movies. For me, this one is a 7 out of 10, and all the three after this are largely quite far from this movie in terms of quality. The second one on my list in this rating is the third movie, Friday the 13th Part 3, which is not that bad actually. The movie starts a bit slow, but I feel it adds to the plot that we see these people that are confronting some of the main characters at a gas station, then they end up in a nightmare in this barn. Largely, the characters are more aware in the situations and do not end up killed without even thinking. Jason is more composed and shows himself more. Additionally, that boat scene towards the end, when the last remaining character, this girl called Chris Higgins, tries to get away in a boat, she stabs Jason with an axe, but then he gets after her. Those moments deal you a solid dose of suspense, and despite having a rather slow beginning, it is entertaining to watch. The movie is a bit darker, it does not have the same high romance stuff as the second one does, and although it cannot match the first movie, I will give it a 6 out of 10 because it is pretty close. It is hard to choose between number 4 and number 2 for the third movie in this rank, but I think I will go with the Friday the 13th Part 2 because this one is mostly about romance, the couple sneaking up into the woods, that guy in the wheelchair. Generally, the movie takes an awful lot of time to get going, and there is nothing happening or any tension before 40 minutes into the movie. Those kill scenes are not that good either, and you feel that all the other characters rather than Ginny are just there to disappear, and as actors, they do not really give any effort doing good roles. Sure, you have bad characters in horror movies, but these must be some of the worst ever made. In a horror movie where you only have half an hour to entertain, there's surprisingly little horror in it, and some of the characters even go to a bar to drink instead of being on this camp, which feels way less scary than the first camp that they were in during the first movie. For me, this is a disappointing follow-up, but it has a scene towards the end where Ginny confronts Jason and tries to trick him into believing that she is his mother. That's why it may be a little bit better than the fourth one, because those scenes towards the end are at least promising, but it is only an average movie at a 5 out of 10. The last movie, which is also called Friday the 13th, the last chapter, which I said earlier in the video, is also perhaps the weakest of the first four, although I might be giving this a 5 out of 10 as well. It starts with Jason in a morgue, then he suddenly wakes up and kills some of the people there before escaping, going into the woods, taking out some campus that decides to live next door to a house out in the woods, which is kind of strange that they live all the way out there. The camp is not any scary, the movie is quite slow, as like the second one, it is mostly about dancing, romance, and young love, not too much about this merciless killer Jason that only appears a little bit near the end, and when it does, almost nobody is aware of their surroundings. That's why this is also a very weak horror movie. He may take them by surprise, as they are drunk after all, fair enough. But I don't know. This just feels like a franchise that should be ended at that time. When the boy and sister are the only ones surviving, also go away from the exclusive mass killer at the camp film. And you also have the boy that seems to be a fan of Jason with all these strange hollow-out figures in his room. He even shaves his head to look like him. To me, I liked it better during the first movie, when it just went out against these people at a camp, and there was horror at the lake kind of movie, not just chase killer in the woods everywhere kind of movie. After this, they probably expanded it even more, but the movie shows clearly that it should have been ended after this movie, the whole franchise. Of course, also with the action and such, every movie kind of feels the same way it is done when Jason kills the people, and there's not too much you can do to elevate the story. This is clearly the weakest of the four.